You found Stryker of Enyo. This is the series What's It Like, where we take a look at a game, a number of hours into it, and give you a first impression of what a game is actually like to sit down and play. Not a review, not a preview, but this is Homefront, the Revolution. I really liked the original Homefront. The multiplayer I thought was pretty fun, but you cannot play it anymore. You might be thinking, Stryker, didn't Crytek buy the game? Well, yeah, they bought the rights to it. It's kind of a long story. I know you saw the Deep Silver logo in the beginning. So what happened is you had this group of people that worked on the original GoldenEye 007 and Perfect Dark back on the Nintendo 64. They left Nintendo and created Free Radical Design. That's the group that made Time Splitters, but unfortunately they also made a PlayStation-only title called Haze that didn't do well, and so that company got closed down. But Free Radical was actually bought out by Crytek, and then they became Crytek UK. Unfortunately, Crytek UK got shut down, and then that became Dambuster Studios, who is actually owned by Deep Silver. So yes, Deep Silver is essentially publishing and creating this game. So it is the same team that has worked on Crysis 2 and 3. Let me be clear with that. It's just a different name. Dambuster Studios, you know, they're new, but they've been around.
It started back.
I know it's confusing, but yeah, essentially Deep Silver ended up buying the rights to the Homefront franchise, and Dambuster Studios is the group of guys that had also worked on Crysis 2 and 3. They just left Crytek UK when the thing closed. So what's the game all about? Well, it's basically based on the movie Red Dawn, starring Patrick Swayze way in the long ago, where there was an occupying force that came into America and imprisoned us. And apparently Korea is doing the same thing, except they made all of our iPads and iPhones. And then they started making weapons under the name called Apex, which sounds like a Bugs Bunny cartoon name that you would pick for your military weapon force. And yeah, apparently we became so in debt to Korea because of all of our bills for the iPhone and our iPad usage that they basically came in and occupied us. Oh yeah, and they built a backdoor to every piece of military hardware we have ever created and turned it all off at the same exact time. Yeah, aircraft carriers, jets, helicopters, it doesn't matter if that stuff actually existed long beforehand. Apparently Korea had its hand in everything. God, this is the most insufferable idea. America makes its own technology. We create our own weapons. We have it, you know, in production for decades before we actually put it out into the field. Even something small as an assault rifle takes years to actually put in the hands of a soldier, because we make sure that we're the ones creating it and that there's no fucking back doors put in it so that this could happen. But I get it, it's a video game. You gotta move past it. In other words, it's setting up a world where we have been owned by Korea for a long time, and now we're finally getting back. So let's get down and actually see how the game plays. So Homefront, the Revolution, is a little different than its predecessor in the fact that it's kind of a semi-open world. What do I mean by that? Well, you really get a section at a time. You don't get one vast open world. You can see it on the map, but like I said, you can't travel to the next area until you've done enough of the main missions in order to move on. So, but it has the same kind of concept in a lot of Ubisoft games. You'll have a control point, you'll liberate it, it'll turn your map blue, and then you go into other red zones and try to take them over in order to turn an entire area under your control. The opening area is like this, but now when you get to the next area of the game, then you start to kind of have to worry about tucking your gun away and liberating the sections. The game will explain right here.
In order to start a revolution, you need to persuade ordinary people to join the fight. The map shows your progress towards inspiring the district to rise up, and the 5 different categories of actions that will contribute to your total. These are strike points which must be captured. Voice of Freedom, where you tune radios to the resistance station. Sabotage, where you destroy KPA infrastructure. acts of liberation, such as saving people from police brutality, and finally destroying the APCs that patrol the streets. In addition to raising hearts and minds, you also earn KPA tech points, which can be used to buy weapon conversion, guerrilla toolkit deployment methods, and new kit items. Once Hearts and Minds reaches 100%, you can activate the broadcasting of resistance propaganda across the district. This will cause the people to rise up and allows access to the KPA's key strongholds in the district.
So sorry for letting the game explain it, but they did a good job and they did it within a minute, so I figured I would just leave that in. But yeah, that's basically all you're doing. You're just, you're trying to get your revolt percentage up so that the people will get upset, and then they'll kind of help you out at that point. But basically that unlocks the top level strongholds so that you can get access to them. Otherwise, you're basically just grabbing a bunch of consumables and using them to create some of your other weapons. Don't worry, the crafting isn't really huge. There's only 4 resources you can collect, like batteries, chemicals, propellant, and igniters. You use that to build your explosives or your hacking devices or your Molotovs. And that's about it. That's as far as crafting goes. It's basic, and you can always go to the shop and buy the stuff you need too. Which brings up the shop. So every weapon can be converted into 2 other weapons, like the pistol can be changed into a submachine gun and a pneumatic pistol. The assault rifle can actually be, once you buy it, then you can change that into a light machine gun or a limpet mine launcher if you've got enough of the red currency. And you can also upgrade the base weapons as well. So there's equipment too. That's where you get your incendiary versions, remote detonation, the RC cars. That's where you buy that using the red cash that the game gives you for defeating outposts. Attachments are the same. There's only one group of attachments. You'll never get more than that. So you're kind of limited. Suppressors only work on a pistol. The gear is just knee pads and stuff. It's stuff that gives you bigger capacity, or you can move faster, or you don't get seen as quickly. And then you can just straight up buy some of the components you want. So the upgrade system for weapons works the same way kind of in Crisis. But like I said, you can actually convert every individual weapon into 2 other weapons. So the pistol, you can actually convert that into a submachine gun. So it kind of makes it so that even though the player is only carrying up to 3 weapons, they can actually convert all those weapons into 9 different pieces of technology. So yeah, the assault rifle can be a light machine gun. The marksman rifle can change into a full-size sniper rifle, and so on. So it's kind of nice, but ultimately it's not really that much of a difference between letting the player actually carry 9 weapons or carry 3 weapons that can be converted. So the other big thing about the game is the stealth mechanic. This gets introduced to you after you get to this second area in the game, where you can now stow your weapon and walk around, but enemies will still be alerted to you if they stand too close to you. You're supposed to be able to have another ally stand between you and a Korean, and that will sometimes mask your presence, but for the most part, you're gonna do something, you're gonna alert them, and it's basically a never-ending flow of enemies until that meter subsides. So they're going to be rushing you, you're going to be trying to find a hiding spot, but it's hard to get them to activate sometimes. They're going to be shooting you, you can't go into those spotlights or else they'll detect you have weapons. It's not going to be fun, let me tell you that. They're going to get alerted a lot, you're going to be in a lot of firefights. You're not in this completely alone. You can actually ask up to 3 allies actually follow you around and help you out, aside from obviously the other randoms perhaps helping you. Don't shoot them in the back like I just did there. But yeah, you can actually have other allies. You can ask them to come with you. Their pathfinding isn't always that great, but they will help you out and they will shoot the enemies. Bugs and issues, also known as the thing that might make you not want to play. So at this point, the game has been patched up to 1.12. And as you can see here, you're seeing that flash of rain and light in the background. It'll happen again here. See, like there it is. But it's not raining. The ground is wet, but it clearly is not raining behind me. But it kept on glitching up. Here, the guns will move around. They'll jump in place, like the M16 on the left. It just jumped there a little bit. The shotgun on the right, that will jump a little bit, like just like that. It happens to any weapon that AI are holding. It's something I haven't seen in a Crytek game, quite honestly, but it's there. And I realized that although you can't straight up shoot at your allies, if you start shooting and then drag your gunfire over, you can kill your own enemies and then loot their bodies for ammo and money. Doesn't seem to be any kind of recompense for it. They won't shoot back. They don't care. They're not even really in attack mode. Yeah, they don't give a shit. But hey, if you need some ammo, just start shooting and drag it over. And then there's this fucking thing. The first drawer in the game, it shows highlights on all the drawers. You open them up, but there's nothing in it. How the fuck can you make a game like that? Oh yeah, and it's really hard to get your so-called cursor right on the object, and you can't hold down the X button in order to keep searching items. I really hate that. You have to hold it on each individual thing. Oh, and this is the typical thing of, you know, graffiti. I know it's there to kind of let you know that you're in a friendly controlled area, but most of the graffiti is written by the same person, and I don't know why you're telling me to rise up and open my eyes when clearly I'm already at the headquarters. There's other bugs like this guy, like, hey, did you just walk in from shore? Are you coming from Washington or something? What the fuck? Yeah, there's things like that. Like, where the fuck did they spawn him from? The RC cars are fun. They're a little rough to drive. They bump into things a lot. Maybe that's by design. I don't know. But they don't explode in the camera view. And the thing is that those two guys that are behind me now, they just spawned in as I attacked. It gets annoying. The AI it's kind of questionable. Like this guy, the moment I take out my rifle, I have it tucked away right now, it will activate him, watch. Like, I didn't do anything else, and he's running right toward me. I didn't fire, I didn't do anything. And here, like, I've already thrown one explosive. You can clearly see, well, he was not there 2 seconds ago. I guarantee you that. And neither was that guy, or else they would have seen me as they were running up to the vehicle, right? So, enemies will pop in and out. There's a couple other little things. They don't ruin the game, but they're there. Visuals and design. So, since the game's running on the Crytek engine, the pre-rendered cutscenes really aren't so bad. There's skin, there's facial hair, there's lighting. You can even see some sweat pores every once in a while. You know, it's kind of what you would expect from a Crytek engine. And even the in-game models, I mean, leather looks like it's been worn for 15 years or so. You know, there's tearing on clothing and whatnot. Clearly, you know, people have taken things and put them together, and that's the kind of world that this should feel like. It shouldn't feel all new and fresh. I mean, people grab the clothing they can, the gear that they can, they add it together, try to make it look presentable, and, you know, like, none of this stuff is too far-fetched. You don't have, you know, skin-clad wearing, oh, okay. Can you be my new mommy? I mean, oh, you're fucking hot. So yeah, it all looks lived in, it looks practical, it looks like there's been an occupation, you know, in a Philadelphia-inspired, like, area. The clothing is reminiscent of what people would be wearing in Philadelphia, so you're not going to be seeing a lot of shorts and tank tops, you know, which might be kind of distracting. You know, it has a feeling of Falling Skies, if you like that TV show. You know, no, Noah Wiley doesn't show up, but, you know, people got beards and, and it has a weathered look to everything. You know, yeah, the environment has these big symbols that are supposed to designate crate areas and things like that. Yeah, like that. But that's for the player, not necessarily, it's not meant to be realistic. You know, obviously the Koreans would see that.
Oh, hey, it's good to see you again. Can I give you my number? I mean, I know the Koreans track us on those phones, but hey.
Oh shit. Oh god. I didn't mean that. I mean, well, yeah, I'm going to take your money, but I mean, don't judge me for it. No, seriously, I restarted my game thinking that I killed a unique character, but you'll find out the answer later. So here are my final thoughts on Homefront: The Revolution. So, yeah, what we have here is an above-average game. I would probably give it a 61. I hadn't completed it, that's why I'm not doing a full review on it. But yeah, I think it deserves around a 61. Keep in mind that when the game originally came out, it was getting a bunch of 5s and 6s. But for you should be able to get this game for relatively cheap. I mean, I'm talking about $10 on Steam, US dollars, and possibly on consoles around $22 US equivalent, and that might also include the DLC, which is going to give you another 12 or 15 hours worth of content by itself, if not some more. So that's a lot of content. So for a $10, $20 game, you're actually getting quite a bit of stuff to do, and sure, it's not the most polished, the narrative isn't the greatest, but it's kind of hard to pull off a story in a first-person shooter. That's why, you know, some of the alumni of the genre, like Deus Ex and Half-Life, exist, is because they were able to pull off story elements quite well. So yeah, don't come for the story, but come for the gameplay elements, shooting some North Koreans, although they don't always speak in Korean, and the like. But yeah, you're getting a lot of stuff. I mean, there's 3 DLCs: Voice of Freedom, Aftermath, and Beyond the Wall, depending on how much you pay for it. But yeah, the Voice of Freedom is a prelude to the main game. Aftermath takes place after the end of the main game, and then Beyond the Wall takes place after the Resistance ends up getting crushed. And oh my god, you are so fucking cute. I just want to liberate your vagina? Can I say that in the future? I mean, is this... Oh my god, you never told me you have a sister that's got the same tight pants. Holy shit! Christmas and my birthday has just come on the same day! So when Homefront: The Revolution first came out, it was a game that you really couldn't recommend to somebody else. Not at full price, not with all the glaring issues and frame rate stuff going on. But now that this game has had a number of patches, and you can probably get the game and all of the DLC for around 11 to 18 US dollars, depending on your platform of choice, it's really not that bad of a waste of money. And yeah, there's been better shooting and stealth mechanics in other games, namely Crysis 2 and 3, which is what this team has worked on in the past. So while this isn't necessarily their best work to date, it is still unique. It's different than other shooters out there. Is it an underrated shooter? Well, no, because it was total crap when it first came out. It was an average game. The patches have helped, but it doesn't really change the horrible dialogue, the lackluster stealth system, and the fact that some stuff just doesn't seem to work too well. There is a co-op campaign, or there's a co-op section for 4 players, about 6 missions. It's not much, but hey, if you get all of this for a cheap price, I'd say dive into it for a couple of weekends and you'll get your money's back.